All right, so welcome to another video from the chart readers. So we're going to take a second look at the cryptocurrency tickers. So some people aren't too comfortable with the whole crypto world, right? They don't want to download that digital wallet. They're kind of afraid of the whole, if you buy into Coinbase and buy cryptos through them, you don't actually own them. There's a couple different gray areas, right? So I said it on the last video and I'll say it again. Buying crypto related stocks is the easiest way to kind of ride a lot of the highs, right? You might not get as high a jump, right? So if cryptos, if they're running 100, 200%, 300%, right? Like they've gone crazy before, you might not see that kind of growth with a stock ticker like coin or whatever. But hey, growth is growth. Don't ever, don't look away from gains, right? So with all that said, we're going to review the, 5 from previous, and then I want to add 2 more. So the last time we made this video was August 3rd, so I'll basically review from the 3rd onward. So basically 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. So after the 3rd, you'll see it literally the next day, it pretty much came and tested this 112 line that we drew, right? Overall, it's really just been essentially going under this 100, right? It is riding the 100, but it's closed under. It closed here, closed just under, closed, right? It opened up here, but then it closed here, right? So this 100 was clearly a hard wall. And hey, look, hopefully you rode from this 75 to 112, right? That's actually a really nice percentage right there. That looks like way more than 20% even, actually. So hopefully you use these lines. However, these lines are not financial advice, right? So yes, that said, today was a little devastating, actually. It was a negative 10% drop. Not only that, look what happened today. We actually went under the 8 today. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of testing the 100, and the fail kind of came today, right? So I would be a little worried about coin here, right? I mean, a couple things to see. Clearly, the RSI, we have the green going under the red, and it's kind of seemingly going more downward while this is kind of staying flat, right? So that's a little worrisome. RSI never really got too high, right? I mean, well, I take that back. It was 77. That's a lot closer to 80 than I expected. Even right here, it was probably 73, 74 exactly, right? So I can see it. And again, I've mentioned this on a couple other videos, right? You want that RSI to be a little bit lower so that as it's going up, it could use that momentum to break some lines, right? Either moving averages or these horizontal lines that I draw manually, right? So again, coin, though it looked good, right, on the 3rd, and I actually do remember being a little bullish on coin. Yeah, it basically failed the line, more importantly, failed the 100, and today is under the 8. Unless, for whatever reason, this opens over the 8 tomorrow, I would stay away. And then ultimately, I wouldn't really get in until I see a break of the 100, right? I could just see that 100 being a little difficult to get over. Once it breaks it, get a little confirmation, and then go in that day after, right? So after the confirmation. But again, not financial advice, just my 2 cents. Next up in this world is MARA, Marathon, Mara. So what are we looking at here? My, look at that. I love it when the lines are just on point like that, right? So clearly kind of the same thing happened, right? Because again, we made this video 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We made it on this trading day, right? That's 8-3. From there, it looked like there was basically a 2-day dance with this 1350 line, more importantly, the 100, right? It broke it, came to our line here, came down, and then really just bounced off that 8. I'm telling you, that 8 is a magical line. I do really love the 8 moving average. Mara seems like it actually has a little bit of room to run here. I'm going to make a couple lines. I'm going to put one there. Nice, and actually hit right there too. Oh, and that's exactly where we're at. Interesting. I don't know if that's going to be a hard wall, but you see that, right? So I could see this line being an important one. If you're not in already, you need to break 1770. Basically open at like 1780, right? I'd want to get in at that 1780 and hopefully ride that to 20. Again, that's about 10%, right? So that's not too bad a gap right there. I'll draw one more up here just to give it, well, really, we're coming up on this 200, right? And I looked like, honestly, I was going to put my line right here, and it's a little above it, right? So Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But yeah, Mara looking a little more bullish than coin. Again, I like that RSI right there. Sorry, I was going to say MACD. I do like that RSI right there. Look, it's at 70. Again, though, we can go as high as 77. There was a stock yesterday. I forgot which one it was, but the RSI had hit 88. You know what I mean? So, again, just look for the signs. I'm loving this 100 confirmation break. We got 2 lines. I just don't like that we're here, right? So if you're not in Mara yet, make sure that this line breaks before it does. Otherwise, hey, from the 3rd till here, you've made yourself a nice little chunk and change here. So, good for you. RIOT, Riot Blockchain. Look at that. Look, only 2 lines, right? But that's pretty much all Riot needed. Look at that. So again, we made this video on the 3rd right here. It took a little bit to actually break this confirmation of the $8 line, essentially, right? 802, but whatever. Right? It was pretty much dancing with it. This was a nice little blip here, but really, it was the last 3 days especially. And look at this. Today, so what do I see here? There's really a couple things going on that I see here. I'll be honest. I feel like Riot might be a couple days ago where coin is. So I'm gonna go back to the coin chart in a sec. But look, the RSI looks good, right? I see the green peaking, I see the red going down. Generally, that's a good sign. But it's a little high. It's at 72, and there's 2 big lines right here. There's one that I manually drew, right? So the computer doesn't even really know it's there, and that's not part of any calculations. And there's this 100, which is the second highest line we have here, right? So I'm not too sure we have enough momentum to break these. I'm going to go back to coin. And basically, it reminds me a lot of this, right? So again, on this day, we had an RSI of 74. We're around 70 something. I forgot the exact number, right? But it wasn't enough to break it, right? I could see that happening with, not RIOT, Riot. Good. So again, there are times when I go against the lines, right? Like generally, look, you see something like this, I get real happy, right? That's good. Green going up, red going down, right? But the higher number than ideal plus the 2 lines just gives me a little hesitation on Riot. So far, Mara still looking like the king or queen, depending on your gender preferences. I don't know why I just said that. Okay, so now HIVE. Again, look at this bad boy. So we made the video on the 3rd, right? So we made it on this day. And basically, all that's really happening here is a riding of the 8, right? Especially with these gaps here when there's just no green and it's just red, 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 red. I mean, this is as pretty a gap fill as you'll see, right? This is really, really nice. So what are we looking at? Look, we have an 82, but a still pretty good looking RSI. We're actually a little higher than we've been previously as well, right? We've pretty much passed that peak. So yeah, HIVE has had a very nice run. It looks like it broke the 100 and this 587 line pretty substantially. And again, there's still a little gap in this little channel as well. So I would watch HIVE in the morning. This could at least at the minimum, maybe, I wouldn't say at the minimum because I don't know that, right? But I could see this hitting 736 and then maybe coming down. Just my 2 cents on the high RSI, but HIVE looking real good. And then EBON. I remember EBON not looking good. I wonder how this one did. Okay. All right. Well, it actually went to the higher side of the lines than the lower side of the line. So that there is a lot of positive there. And it actually just broke my last one. Okay. So when I made this video, that was the 4th. It was this day. It was the 3rd. So that day it had closed above the 8, and it actually looked like it helped sustain a pretty good riding of the 8, right? Again, these are terms I'm hoping you hear often and they're getting familiar, right? But once you break it, hopefully you ride it, and then you use that to break a couple other things, right? But looks like it broke the 20, looks like it broke the 50. Today's the first day of the 50, so I'd want a little confirmation. But I like how low the RSI is, actually. And look, the MACD is actually at the 0 line, too. So EBON could look pretty nice. There's actually only a couple lines I see to make here, right? So I'll put one up here. It's just a little too high. Right there. I'll put one right there. And then I'll put one right there. So there's a pretty good chunk of change here, actually. If it breaks 60, a ride to 69 cents, again, that's a 10% gap right there, a little more than actually. So EBON, let's see how that does. But this looks bullish. I would say Mara and EBON are the two that do stand out the best, actually. Next up is a new ticker I found. I actually don't know this one too well. There's no lines on it because honestly, we're gonna look at this together for the first time. Oh man, HUT. Okay, that's why this one came up. So HUT is really sitting along the lines of where Coin and where Riot were sitting, right? Basically, we're at the 100. I like there's a little bit more of a gap here actually in between where this 100 line is, right? So maybe a little more bullish. And then again, relatively high on the RSI, but again, still I like that little peak. So let me draw some lines and then let's see what HUT might shape out to. Cool, I like that line is there. I like that. HUT, look, just honestly, almost these two lines alone are what we're gonna need for the next day or two. But let me just make a couple more, just in case this plays out a couple different ways. I wanted to use that one actually, but I think I'm gonna come down to this. Nope. Where are we at? There we go. I'm gonna come to this peak instead. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty good chunk here. Look, if this thing opens at 301, right, basically just a little bit positive, I would hope to see a good run to 354, maybe even just 350 using whole numbers, right? Again, that's a little more than 10% as well. Actually, looks like about 15%, I think. So not too shabby at all. So actually a little more than 15%. Cool. HUT. There's not a ticker I know. I will actually be following this one. I'm not in this one. You can clearly tell. I try not to like make it obvious if I'm in a stock or not. So that's a thing. This is the last new one is Hood. So Robinhood, a lot of people hate this one. A lot of people like this one. I have very low opinions about stocks, right? I rarely care what they do. I almost rarely follow the news, like if they're earning stuff like that. Look, don't get me wrong. I'll check a quick headline here and there, but for me, it's all about these lines, right? So, yeah. But as I was speaking, I was clearly making some lines. Where are we sitting at? Look, it's actually a pretty good. It needs to break this 10, basically 11. We can call it $11, right? I would want to get over 11 if we could. There's a high likelihood of hitting that. I could see this maybe being a wall. So a ride from 11 to 12, and then a ride from 12 to 13, basically. So I can see those dollar increments happening. Again, each of those dollars is basically 10%, right? So even if you go from 11 to 12 and get stopped out, hey, that's not bad a channel. So, and I'll tell you, these lines they're not supposed to be 10% increments by any way, right? It happens to be that way. And when you're looking on a daily, I imagine the gaps are going to be tighter, right? If you go out to monthlies and stuff like that, that's when the line gaps open a little more. But yeah, this was a good review of the crypto world. Again, I would say Coin, Riot, EBON, really even HUT as well. Hood, just we'll see how it opens, right? But I would say those are the 1, 2, 3s. Again, this is not financial advice. And yeah, if you've used these lines, I've said this on the last couple of videos, especially as we're doing more reviews of the sectors. If you're using these lines and you're starting to learn, you should be starting to get pretty good, which I hope is happening here. Yeah, follow if you haven't. YouTube is the best way to get updates. Have a good one.